Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavidvaram Satgurum Brahmavidvaram. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. 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 With Bhagwan's grace, we were able to reflect on 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita in the last 4 years. Many Mahatmas, there is slight echo. Many Mahatmas, they classify these 18 chapters in different ways. One way of classification is, they say the first 6 chapters are talking about Tvampada. Chapter 7 through 12 is talking about Tatpada. And chapter 13 through 18 is talking about Asi Pada. So Tattvamasi Mahavakya, that you are, that is being highlighted by set of 6 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. But if you look at it closely, you will find topics are little bit unevenly distributed. For example, if you say Mahavakya is highlighted only from 13th chapter to 18th chapter. Asipada is 13 through 18. In 6th chapter itself we saw Mahavakya. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. The one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. That is Mahavakya. In 4th chapter also we saw Mahavakya. So we cannot say only after 13th chapter we will find Mahavakya. Although 13th through 18th chapter, Mahavakyas are there. 13th chapter has Mahavakya, 14th chapter has Mahavakya. But there are other topics also which are discussed. You will find sadhanas, you will find different discussion about gunas in 17th and 18th chapter. So another way to look at it is 1 through 6 chapter predominantly talks about Tvampada. It talks about who am I, what is my nature with conditioning and without conditioning. What is my identity or nature with conditioning and without conditioning. That is the main topic of first 6 chapters. 7th through 12th, Bhagwan says, now I will talk about myself. Who is God? What is Bhagwan? What is his Saguna Rupa? What is his Nirguna Rupa? That is highlighted from 7th through 12th chapter. Then 13, 14, 15 is the Mahavakya part. 13, 14, 15 is Mahavakya. And 16, 17, 18 is miscellaneous topics. Whatever Bhagwan did not elaborate in 15 chapters, he felt for sadhana these topics are important. Daivi Sampatti, Asuri Sampatti. Different types of faith, 17th chapter. Different types of expression of gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. How does it express in terms of karta, in terms of karma, in terms of jnanam, buddhi, dhruti. All those topics are miscellaneous topics. Bhagavan took it up in 18th chapter. That is another classification. 6, 6, 3 and 3. First 6 about Tvampada. Next 6 about Tat. Then 13, 14, 15 is Asi, the Mahavakya. Teaching is complete by 15th chapter. 16, 17th, 18 is miscellaneous topics elaborated, which are helpful for our sadhana. Now in the first 6 chapters, what has Bhagavan told us so far? His main emphasis is Nanu shoshanti panditaha. Wise people do not grieve. Whatever might be the situation, there are different perspectives which a wise person has gained. Hold on to either one of them. But the main bottom line is, Shoka doesn't befit a Pandita. Just like if there is a pot and a child is playing with that pot, his hand touches the pot, expensive pot, huh? What do they call it? Not Chinaware, porcelain or something, very expensive one. That thing breaks, falls down and breaks. Now there are different standpoints you can look at it at. There are different standpoints from which you can look at that particular incident. One is from clay standpoint. From clay standpoint, nothing has happened. Clay did not become a pot. Neither clay got affected by destruction of the pot. Clay is clay all through. Second is, you can say, whatever had to be done with that pot has been already done. It served us well. Several years we used it. Whatever was the utility, whatever was the best thing we could use that pot for, it has already been used. That is second standpoint. Third is, you say, okay, this pot is broken now. It is not surprising. Everything is impermanent. No object is permanently going to be there. At some point it will perish. So if it has broken, there is nothing to be too concerned about. You start thinking what I should do next. Either I can get a new pot or do something with it. Main thing is, there are 3 perspectives. One is from clay standpoint. Another is how it has been used. While it was there in its name and form, how it was being used. And third is, what should I do right now? Pot is broken. That is the situation in front of me. What can I do right now? So Bhagavan tells Arjuna, for every situation you have 3 standpoints. The first standpoint is consciousness standpoint. He starts from there. Teaching of Bhagavad Gita, he says, Arjuna, if you shift attention to that Chaitanya, there is no Jagat. There is no world, there is no experiencer also. Ego and the world gets erased when you look at it from the standpoint of consciousness. The source of joy and sorrow, which is the world, the experiencer of joy and sorrow, which is this ego, both are mithya from the standpoint of consciousness. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. That which is real will never perish. That which is unreal will never be born. The one who understands this, that person is Tattvadarshi. The one who understands nature of consciousness, and also understands the falsity of this universe, falsity of this world and his ego, that person is knower of Brahman. That is the clay perspective. Whatever happens to conditioning, clay is unaffected. So whatever happens to conditioning of body, mind and intellect, whatever happens to the conditioning of BMI, Chaitanya is unaffected by that change. So this is one standpoint. Bhagavan says, Nanu shochanti panditaha. Wise people don't grieve. They are always abiding in that state of bliss. I was sharing this yesterday, I don't know where. Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi ji had one photograph. One photograph he had, which was lost. And he was searching for it. That photograph he was searching. There was one devotee nearby. He said, Bhagwan, how do you look upon this incident? That you had something and you lost it, now you are searching for it. Bhagwan said, if you dreamt of taking me to Poland, after waking up, how will you describe your experience? Will you talk to everybody that I took Bhagwan to Poland? Now I have brought him back. The way in which he will look upon that experience is the same way in which I am looking at this experience. Then the devotee says, Bhagwan, dream is different, waking world is different. Dream is different, waking world is different. Bhagwan's answer is very simple. He says, all this is chatter of the mind. The moment mind is active, it makes us feel mind is real first, and the world that it is showing is real. And within that world, I should find some solution. I should find some object to be happy. That becomes its quest. So he says, quieten this mind and through Vedanta negate this mind and see whether world remains or not. That is Jivan Mukta's view of this world. Nanu shochanti panditaha. From that standpoint, from the standpoint of Chaitanya, there is nothing called as Jagat. Sanjay ji, you can come in front. There is a chair. Now, Bhagwan said this with lot of enthusiasm, hoping that Arjuna's problem is solved. And he saw a blank expression on Arjuna's face. Means I am not connecting. Then Bhagwan comes one step down from jiva standpoint. He says, Arjuna, even if you take from jiva standpoint, let us say you don't have or you don't pay attention to that self which is not changing. Even if you consider yourself as jiva, still there is nothing to grieve. Because jiva is something which is traveling an eternal journey. It has taken several bodies before, and several other bodies are waiting. See, this point only Bhagwan can say with confidence. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh. Whatever is born should perish. All of us agree? There is nothing in this universe which is born and it will not perish. But later part is dhruvam janmam mrutasya cha. Whatever perishes is not only born. Bhagwan says whatever perishes is certainly reborn. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. Whatever perishes, there is no choice of escaping. Whether I want next birth or not, there is no option given. Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. So if somebody becomes serious about their sadhana, somebody becomes sincere about their sadhana, does devotion to Bhagwan well, lives a spiritual life, he says there is nothing to worry. We saw that at the end of 6th chapter. What happens to that jiva after he drops this body? He goes to higher worlds. If his vairagya is more, he comes back directly to a family where he gets spiritual samskaras right from the beginning. So from jiva standpoint also, there is nothing to lament. So jiva standpoint is understanding that pot and saying that it has done whatever it had to do. Whatever lifespan of that pot was there, it has been used to the best possible extent, in the best possible way. There is nothing to lament over. But what is the main sadhana from jiva standpoint? He has to become sincere about spiritual quest. Does his japa, does his prayers, does his sadhana very sincerely. That is from jiva standpoint. Then Bhagwan comes one more level down where he says, Arjuna, even if you consider from your swadharma standpoint, that you are a kshatriya and your duty right now is to face this situation. Running away is not an option. It will never bring us good. Puja Swami Shantananji, during the Gita Yajna, he said, Bhagwan is telling Arjuna, if you run away to Himalayas, people will organize tour buses. And they will say, they will bring people, you are meditating there, they will bring people, turn around and say, this is the same Arjuna who ran from the battlefield. And Kshatriya is somebody who cannot bear insult. If we hear somebody telling him that he ran away from the battlefield, he'll take his bow and arrow and aim at that person. So Bhagwan is telling him, instead of aiming there in Himalaya, you aim here only. This situation has come in front of you. Face it with the swabhava that God has blessed you with. Because you will not be put in a situation where you are not meant to be. Because our karma is flawless. We might think, there is some flaw in Bhagwan's system, but he will never put us in a situation where we are not meant to be. In and through that situation, Bhagwan says, see if we can grow. That is the beauty of swadharma, according to the prapta paristhiti, according to the situation which is available in front of me, doing whatever is my swadharma to the dot. Now, having explained these three standpoints, Bhagwan makes a slight twist over there. He says, this swadharma, if you keep doing it only as duty, it will become a chore. You will get burnt out at some point. You will not know for how long am I supposed to do this. So instead of doing only swadharma, sweeten it through karma yoga. That is the connection between swadharma and karma yoga. If somebody does it minus God, day-to-day duties done minus God becomes karma. It might be called as sat karma, good karma. But to make it into karma yoga, Bhagwan says, bring devotion there. Then he elaborates the topic of karma yoga and he says, even while we are doing karma yoga, the vision has to be very clear. What is my goal? Goal is self-abidance alone. Goal is not anything else. For that moksha, keeping that as my main goal, I am doing everything else. Many of these sports person, whenever they play some game, you find cricketers also, playing football in their preparation, playing some other kind of exercise and everything. And you wonder, how are they connected? Why is he playing football if his main game is cricket? But there are different preparations he has to do to train his body to play the main game. He is not playing to become a football player. Like that, all other things which are mentioned, including karma yoga, all other sadhanas, they don't have independent goal. The word Bhagavan used in second chapter was vyavasayatmika buddhi. Vyavasayatmika buddhi means he has one goal, which is moksha. Self-abidance alone is his goal, and for that he is doing all other actions. Then Bhagavan elaborated the topic of Sthita Prajna in second chapter, where he said the one who gains this knowledge, if we want to protect this knowledge, we have to be very alert with sense objects. Don't take it casually. These sense objects will hijack our knowledge. Whatever little we have, that will be as though lost if a person starts doing Vishaya Chintanam. That's where the famous ladder of fall comes, second chapter. Third chapter, Bhagavan elaborated about Karma Yoga. What are the nuances of Karma Yoga? Main point there was, Karma Yoga is that which is done for Bhagavan. Doing action very well is good. But along with that, there has to be devotion to God, by which we can be detached from that action. Mukta Sangaha Samachara. This is one of the secret of Karma Yoga. Bhagavan gives in third chapter. Samachara, do it very well. But at the same time, be Mukta Sangha. Don't get attached to that action. Mukta Sangha will happen only when I get attached to God. That is Bhagavan's view on Karma Yoga. Several other facets he elaborates. Then fourth chapter, Bhagavan talks about how the student gets ready for knowledge. Jnana Karma Sannyasa. He points out several types of yajnas. 14 different types of yajnas, which is making the student's mind disciplined. He is not a casual seeker now. He is a sincere seeker. And very simple yajnas. Controlling food, Bhagavan says, is one yajna. Being moderate in eating is one yajna. Pranayama is one yajna. Study of Shastra is yajna. Meditation is yajna. Like that, he points out 14 different yajnas. And he says the one who has prepared his mind with this discipline, that student will go to a teacher. Going to a teacher means he will have this quest from within. He will have this quest from within to know more about himself. That is the mumukshuta of a student. And to that student, teaching will make maximum impact. That was fourth chapter. Fifth chapter, Bhagavan again elaborated about karma sannyasa. Different sadhanas he pointed out. Then came our sixth chapter, which is on meditation, where Bhagavan elaborated 4 main topics under meditation. Now see the journey of the student. He first came with doubt. Then he got these 3 perspectives. Consciousness standpoint, jiva standpoint, swadharma standpoint. He started doing karma yoga, started living a pious life devoted to God. Got desire for knowledge, gained knowledge. I am that pure consciousness, not this body. Now he is seeking abidance in this knowledge, which is where 6th chapter comes. He says, I want to absorb my mind in this truth. That is the dhyana yoga. So Bhagavan said, first we have to pay attention to lifestyle. Main topic under lifestyle was, Bhagavan says, become yoga ruda. Master the mind and make sure that this mind is very, very obedient. What was the definition of a yoga ruda? 3 things were mentioned. Mind doesn't helplessly run towards sense objects. Who is a yoga ruda? His mind doesn't run towards sense objects. Mind doesn't helplessly run towards actions. Mind doesn't helplessly run towards actions. And third one was, mind doesn't make erroneous resolves. Yada hi nendriyartheshu na karmasu anushajjate. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi. Yoga rudaha tada uchyate. Means our karma yoga, whatever duties we are doing, whatever actions we are doing, they should lead us to this point. What is the success in karma yoga? Mind should not get drawn towards sense objects. Second is, mind should not get helplessly drawn towards actions. And third one is, fanciful imagination of the future is dropped. Sankalpa means that if this happens, I will be happy. Samyak kalpana in bhavishya. That is dropped. He says that is the insignia of yoga rudha. Such a person becomes fit to meditate. Then Bhagavan pointed out outer preparation of meditation, clean place, solitary place, how to sit, straight posture, and inner preparation. Strong resolve to meditate and having ability to pull the mind back from the world. Then he mentioned about technique of meditation, which again highlighted the importance of withdrawing the mind from the world. To shift attention to consciousness, I have only one instrument, which is mind. And mind can have only one object at a given point of time. So that object can be world or it can be consciousness. So he says, empty the mind of the world and shift it to consciousness. That is the technique of meditation. Nature of consciousness, we have to get it from Vedanta. If you notice in 6th chapter, Bhagavan did not elaborate about nature of consciousness. He only said shift attention to consciousness. What is the nature that he will elaborate later? 7th chapter onwards, he says, I only said meditate upon me. But who am I did not tell you yet. So 7th chapter onwards, he will talk about what is my nature. So that is the technique of meditation. In simple words, pulling the mind back from the world and shifting attention to consciousness. Then came some obstacles. Arjuna asked some questions. How do we control the mind? It is very chanchala. What was Bhagavan's answer? Abhyasa and vairagya. Relentlessly keep repeating this practice and at the same time converse with the mind. Make it understand the fallacy of going outside. Whenever it goes outside, converse with it, pull it back within. That is the method of vairagya. More we practice it in waking state, easier it becomes to practice in meditation. Now the last verse, the last topic was about Punarjanma that we have seen elaborately. Arjuna asked a question about Punarjanma. Bhagavan said, one who is sincere in this pursuit, there is no harm that comes to him. He will never go downwards, he will only go upwards. The last verse of 6th chapter was, Yoginam api sarvesham mad gaten antar atmana. Amongst all meditators, all yogis, the one who meditates upon me, that yogi is the best yogi. He has understood me well. He is not meditating upon some object of creation. Not on chakra, not on breath. He is meditating upon me. Mad gatena antar atmana. Now what is the meaning of mat? Bhagavan said, meditating upon me, but what is your nature? Anticipating this question from Arjuna, Bhagavan starts 7th chapter. He says, Arjuna, you are very dear to me. Even if you don't ask question, I will still answer that question. This is what Shankaracharya says. Anticipating question from Arjuna, Bhagavan is starting 7th chapter. Atha saptamodhyayah Shri Bhagavan uvacha Maya saktamanaf partha Yogam yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam samagram mam Yathajñāsyasi tachrunu Shri Bhagavan uvacha Maya saktamanaf partha Yogam yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam samagram mam Yathajñāsyasi tachrunu. Arjuna is getting 3 compliments from Bhagavan. 3 compliments, and these are very big compliments. First one, he says, Arjuna, you are mai asakta manaha. Your asakti, your taste, the place where you get joy, the place where you get ruchi, is not Jagat. The place where you get happiness is me. Mai asakta manaha means your choice. Your varanam is not Jagat, your varanam is me. And this Bhagavan has seen just before the war started. Duryodhana and Arjuna both reach Bhagavan Krishna. Duryodhana sits at head. Arjuna sits at Bhagavan's feet. So when a person wakes up, what he sees is first is his feet. So he tells Arjuna, you ask what you want. Duryodhana says, no, I came first, I will ask first. Bhagavan asks Arjuna, can he ask? Arjuna says, I know what he will ask, let him ask. So Bhagavan says, you have an option between me and my army. I will be there to guide and not take any shastra. I'll be there to guide, not take any weapons. But on the other hand, my army will be available to fight for you if you want. So you can choose between me without weapons and my army with weapons. Sometimes when you look at the Mahabharata war, it's very interesting. Bhagavan Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna, and the arrows which are coming towards him is from his own army. He only sent part of his army to Duryodhana's side. They are the ones who are fighting Bhagavan. But Arjuna says, Bhagavan, my choice is you and you alone. What will I do with this army? If you are there with me, everything is good. Day before the war, Dhritarashtra sends Sanjaya to build some friendship with Pandavas, hoping that they can call off the war and concede defeat before starting the war. Whatever things Arjuna is saying in first chapter, Dhritarashtra sends Sanjaya to say it to Arjuna, that why we should not fight the war. Aren't you doing adharma? Will it not cause so much of destruction? Everything Sanjaya tries to tell. But before he meets Arjuna, he meets Bhagavan lying there. He was in his Sheshashayana. And his one message to Sanjaya is, go and tell Dhritarashtra, whoever is Arjuna's enemy is my enemy. And whoever is Arjuna's Sakha is my Sakha. Lord of the universe telling this for his devotee. Because he has done Varanam exclusively. Arjuna chose Bhagavan Krishna exclusively. Bhagavan says he receives Vishesha Krupa. Samanya Krupa everybody receives. Samanya Krupa means general grace of God. Means if somebody says, I don't believe in God, their oxygen and other supplies don't get cut off. Prakriti is taking care of all jivas. And the one who is presiding over Prakriti is Bhagavan. So if somebody says, I don't believe in Bhagavan, nourishment coming to Prakriti doesn't stop. That is called as Samanya Kripa. But the one who chooses Bhagavan exclusively, something special has to be there, right? That is called as Vishesha Kripa. Bhagavan says that person's well-being is my responsibility. Material well-being and spiritual well-being, both of them, they are my responsibility. The onus on the side of sadhaka is to do that kind of varanam. What we otherwise hear as Sharanagati, Bhagavan Krishna says, Arjuna has that asakti in Bhagavan. That kind of surrender in Bhagavan, that is the first compliment he receives. Maya sakta manaf partha. Second is mad ashraya. Look at the last word. Not only you have delight or you take delight in me, you get joy from me, but also you have sought support from me. These two are slightly different qualities. Our asakti is there where we get joy. Asakti is there where we get joy. Ashraya is there where we see power. Ashraya means we take support in that altar where we see Shakti. If there is a small child, we might have asakti towards that child. Why do we have asakti? Because we get joy. But we don't take ashraya in the child, because Shakti is not seen there. Another altar might be there, just for example, to show one or the other. Politician might be there. He has a lot of power. Somebody might take ashraya in him, but no asakti. He is not source of sukham. But Bhagavan becomes one altar where there is asakti also and there is ashraya also. If that happens, that person is called as a bhakta. His asakti is Bhagavan, his ashraya is Bhagavan. Otherwise, person's ashraya can be so many things of this world. It can be power, position, money, contacts. There is one nice story in the life of Gorakhnath Yogi ji. He was a very accomplished yogi. He goes to Sri Lanka, at that time it was called Ceylon, along with his disciple. And he sees everything in Lanka is made of gold. Is okay? You want some water? Okay. Everything in Lanka is made up of gold. And his disciple was also with him. After they finish everything, they are ready to leave back. And disciple feels, this gold is so easily available here. Everything I will leave behind and go. What if I need something later? So he finds one gold brick. It was so much in plenty, gold brick was there. Quietly puts in his jholi. One jholi he carried, in that he brought gold brick. Until that point he was happily living. Once that gold brick came, wherever he would go, wherever he would keep, he would put 5 people on guard. Take care of that jholi. One day he was supposed to go and take a dip in the river. He told his guru, Guru, please keep an eye on my back. I will come in a while. Guru got curious. What is this? He is always so attached to his bag suddenly. What is there inside? And one day he opened and saw gold brick was there. And Gorakhnath Yogi ji was a great, he is the Pravartaka Acharya of Natha Sampradaya. Natha Sampradaya, they say one of the great teacher was Gorakhnath Yogi ji. So he had a lot of yogic powers. So he understands what is going in this mind of the student? He says his ashraya has shifted to that gold brick. So what he tells him is, you wait around me, I have to do some yogasanas. You just wait next to me, I will do some yogasana. Every day he would do this yogic practices. And when you do yogasana, you have some sweating naturally. From the drop of the sweat that falls down, all the pebbles that were there turn into gold. His yogic powers were such, from his sweat drop, the pebbles which were there turn into gold. And he tells his disciple, take whatever you want. Disciple understands what his teacher wanted to tell him. He said, you have surrendered to the one who is the master of all siddhis. Now why take ashraya in that one small gold brick? Do whatever he tells, it will take care of everything. What it means is, Bhagwan is the Lord of all Shri, Lord of all wealth. Either somebody can take ashraya in wealth, or they can take ashraya in Lord of wealth. Arjuna is somebody who has taken ashraya in Bhagwan. See, time and again Bhagwan reminds us, if our ashraya is erroneous, he says that ashraya will surprise us any moment. Draupadi's ashraya was in Akshaya Patra. And he made her understand that Akshaya Patra also can become Kshaya. And some situations might come where that support will not help. Support has to be me only. How he makes us understand, that is his Leela. I mean, this sadhaka is somebody who lives his life, a very hard-working life. But he says everything is happening because of his grace. Otherwise, we know, small pain comes to the body, toothache comes. Where our Purushartha goes. One Mahatma Ji would say, if you have toothache, he say, kya ho raha hai? Vedant ho raha hai. That small pain will remind us, you are the body. It will remind us how limited is our ability to deal with this world on our own. So this sadhaka is somebody who has taken ashraya in Bhagwan and his asakti is in Bhagwan. At the same time, he is yogam yunjan. Third compliment is, he is a hard-working person. Yogam yunjan means constantly he is striving to perfect himself. Maya sakta manaf partha yogam yunjan madashraya. 3 compliments Bhagavan Krishna gives Arjuna. Because you are of this nature, I will give you some secret teaching. And Bhagavan's confidence is such, he says, if I teach asamshayam samagrammam, you will not have any doubts. And at the same time, you will see the result of this knowledge. Samagram means along with result. Samagram means along with results. Otherwise, what is the point? You have the best knowledge but no result. See, many times when they do some marketing strategy, what is the result of that strategy? What should be the result of that strategy? Sales should go up. You say we have the best marketing team, but sales have not gone up. That means it is without result. Thing might be great, but unless it shows result, it is not considered as complete. So result of this knowledge is freedom from samsara, freedom from agitations of the mind, freedom from the notion of finitude. reveling in that blissful self, Bhagavan says that result you will see. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tachruno. That knowledge which will give you this result, listen to that knowledge right now. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tachruno. Now Bhagavan says, there are two things in this spiritual journey. One is called as Jnanam, another is called as Vijnanam. Knowing, simple words, knowing and wisdom. Jnanam is knowledge, Vijnanam means wisdom. Let's see what he says, more we'll reflect upon it. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyōnyate jñātavyamavashishyate jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyōnyate jñātavyamavashishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshami asheshatah. Bhagavan says, I will teach you in detail, not leave anything untaught or uncovered. What will I teach you? He says, Jnanam and Vijnanam. Now this definition, one of the best definitions I have found is by Ramakrishna Paramamshi. He says there is something called as Ajnanam, then comes Jnanam, then comes Vijnanam. Ajnanam, Jnanam, Vijnanam. What is Ajnanam? Knowing too many things in this world, he says, is Ajnanam. Knowing things as bits and pieces, knowing things as separate objects, different from each other, that is called as Ajnanam. Seeing manyness in this world and believing that manyness to be true is ignorance. Then comes Jnanam. What is Jnanam? He says Jnanam is to understand God alone is real. Everything else is unreal. Jnanam is to know there is one truth. Other than that one truth, what will be opposite of truth? Confidently say, untruth. There is one truth. Other than that, everything is untruth. To get clarity in this is called as Jnanam. Ekam eva advitiyam. To get clarity about that one non-dual truth, that is called as Jnanam. So in the BMI chart, if you see, focusing only on objects and seeing them to be many, different from each other, that is called as Ajnanam. Knowing that there is only one truth and everything else is an appearance, that is called as Jnanam. Now Ajnanam is defined, Jnanam is defined. What is Vijnanam? He says, whenever you see the world, to know that it is the same truth appearing as the world, that is called as Vijnanam. To understand that same truth appears as many and to love that truth in different ways, to love Bhagavan in different ways, that is called as Vijnanam. Jnanam was to know that there is one truth, God alone is real, and everything else is an appearance. And Vijnanam means to love God. In which way is he loving God? In several ways he is able to love God. Taponji Maharaj looks at a bird and goes into samadhi. Sometimes he would look at Gangaji and go into samadhi. Sometimes he would be by himself and be in samadhi. Gurudev writes in one place that sometimes 2-3 days there will be no classes. Because his mind is not willing to come out. That ability to love God wholeheartedly, he says that is called as Vijnanam. Very practical way of putting it. Ajnanam is to see manyness. Jnanam is to see one truth. And Vijnanam is to love that truth and understand that truth alone has become many. They are not different things. Recently, I heard one article written by Divine Mother. This same truth, what we just discussed, Mahatmas have an ability to communicate in very simple words, which will hit in a unique way, it will open up something. She said, if somebody wants peace in this world, the sadhana for that is not to find faults in others. If somebody wants peace, the sadhana for that, way to get that peace is not to find faults in others. And she said, my child, nobody is a stranger. Only that much. She is talking to one devotee, and this was towards the end of her physical embodiment. One of the last devotees she spoke to was these words, that my child, nobody is a stranger. Means how will you look at it from Vedanta standpoint? That one truth alone is appearing as many. Is my attention on the conditioning, or is it on the truth? The one who is able to keep attention on the truth, they'll find peace. They'll be able to go beyond imperfections of conditionings. That was our main point. Conditionings, if you just keep paying attention to, there'll be so many limitations. But going beyond the conditioning, that is what is the spiritual journey. What will you call that? Ajnanam, Jnanam, Vijnanam. That is Vijnanam. Seeing that one truth alone appear as many, that is when true Jivan Mukti or result of Vedanta will be seen in our life. If we always keep truth as different and world as different, then our moksha will be conditional moksha. Whenever I am away from the world, then I am liberated. The moment I interact with the world, I feel bound. That is the sadhana of Vijnanam. Bhagavan says that Vijnanam and Jnanam both will be taught to you. Okay, more we'll see in the next session. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.